The time is now 7 o'clock.
All this lovely weather might have you itching to travel. Well, it's not just you, it's me, it's all of us, it's the rest of the world. With the post-pandemic demand surging, over-tourism has become a major issue around the world, and some cities are taking quite drastic steps to protect their residents and resources. This is also happening in Busan, where residents of the famous Gamcheon Culture Village are, and they've been suffering from an influx of tourists that invade their privacy. Well, tourism, we all know it's a critical part of the local economy, especially here in Busan. But in order for this to be sustainable, we really do need to practice respect and consideration as well. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Friday, May 24th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. It is that day. Friday. Been looking forward to it all week, And I hope you are ready to enjoy your weekend. We just have a few hours to go. But, whether you're going to go see flowers, or maybe head to the beach, the city's tourist attractions are quite busy. While many of these attractions are natural sites or maybe downtown areas, one in particular, Gamcheon Culture Village, is unique in that it is a tourist destination, but it's within a real-life village. People actually do live there. This is a part of the appeal for visitors. However, it's been a source of issues, of trouble for the residents for years. The colorful hillside village had 2.7 million visitors last year, with 60% coming from overseas. But the residents say that they have trouble with noise, with traffic, things like littering, and invasion of privacy. In fact, it's gotten so bad that people are actually moving out of the neighborhood, with the village's population going down from nearly 3,000 to 1,460 in just the past 12 years? So upon this, Saha District has officially requested the city to come up with a budget to provide support and benefits to the residents. And they're currently working on expanding a major road through the village to ease that traffic congestion. If you have ever been, first of all, you know that you should probably take public transportation. There's a maal bus that takes you up to the entrance of the village. Other than that, there's also parking issues. It's really crowded. Beautiful. I love visiting. I've been several times. But, we definitely need to be considerate, not just of your own travel plans, but also of the people that do live there. And now, we're going to talk about our text topic. That feeling of satisfaction that, you finally do something that you have been putting off. There's always something that you're like, I'll do it next weekend. I'll do it tomorrow, whatever it is. Well, how about this? Let's start the weekend fresh by doing something that has been sitting on your to-do list for a while. So in your head, think about your to-do list. I'm sure there's something that you've been procrastinating on, something that you've been putting off for whatever reason, and let's tackle it. So 오늘의 토픽은요. 사람이 가장 기분 좋아지는 방법은 미루고 있던 일을 해치우는 것이라고 하는데요. 웨이버 여러분, 주말을 상쾌하게 시작하기 위해 우리 오늘 미루던 일, to-do list에 있는 일 하나 이것만은 할 거다 다짐해 보세요. What is that pesky thing that you've been putting off? So share with me what you're going to cross off on your to-do list. Send them into BFM's live stream, live chat. The chat, by the way, if you haven't participated, is so lively and fun. It's on YouTube. Also, pound 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free through Kakao Talk as well. The various ways you can listen to us, of course, the traditional 90.5, 103.3 FM on your radio dial. Also, like I just mentioned, on our YouTube channel, live in real time, but you can watch again at your leisure. Also, we have the Patbang app. Looking ahead to our morning together, we have Casey with Foreign Press Highlights. We have Laura coming in for What in the World. For today's special interview, we are going to talk about AI. What about AI? There are so many different facets that we have covered. We're going to talk about the future of music with AI, about music creation, and the whole idea of AI-generated music. Is it hurting the music industry overall? And all of the other related questions we're going to get answers to. And I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:05, and these are today's headlines. South Korea, China, and Japan to hold trilateral summit in Seoul next week. President Yoon Suk-yeol will meet with Chinese Premier Li Qiang and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Seoul on Monday for the first time in 4.5 years. Political leaders gather at memorial service for late President Roh Moo-hyun. Key political leaders gathered in the southeastern part of the country yesterday for a memorial service marking the 15th anniversary of the death of former President Roh Moo-hyun. BOK freezes rates again amid inflation woes. In a widely expected decision, the Monetary Policy Board of the Bank of Korea decided to keep its benchmark rate at 3.5% for the 11th consecutive time. Kakao fined record 15.1 billion won for personal data leak. The Personal Information Protection Commission, Kakao Corporation, fined Kakao Corporation 15.1 billion won yesterday for the leak of about 65,000 users' personal data, the highest penalty ever imposed on a domestic firm. Police arrest suspect who orchestrated Gyeongbokgung Palace vandalism. The suspect in his 30s faces charges for violating the Cultural Heritage Protection Act, as well as other charges, including the distribution of obscene materials. These are today's headlines. It is now time for Busan Updates. We have Haley in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Our favorite day is finally here.
It is indeed.
Yes, yes. Well, first up, let's talk about our text topic. Do you have something on your to-do list? Something you've been procrastinating on and you're going to check it off today?
I'm not a huge procrastinator. There's like one of the handful of things I do well is not procrastinate. I just get things done. Sometimes I have to do them over again because I got it done too early and things change like the news. But I'm going to go to the gym because I have an event later tonight. So I'm like, I could go home, eat, nap, but I will go to the gym and it's leg day.
It's leg day?
It's leg day. So I will do those lunges with weights. So yeah, it's out in the ether. I've made a promise to our waivers. I'm going to do leg day. Sense the excitement.
So that's on your to-do list.
It's on my to-do list.
Check it off today.
Yes, I'm going to put a big old check mark next to it.
Very good. All right. Busan will apparently see lower electricity rates compared to the capital area. Oh, but it's in a couple of years.
I was going to get happy years, so don't hold your breath quite yet because the Special Act on Energy Distribution goes into effect next month. And upon this, it sets the foundation for the regional differential electricity rate. And that could be applied starting in 2026. So according to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, they decided upon this via its 31st Energy Committee meeting this week. So once this differential rate system goes into effect, areas that have nuclear power plants, including Busan, thus produce more energy than we use, well, they can see lowered rates than places like the capital area where their usage far exceeds their product, their output, their creation, produce.
Yes.
So this is actually the very first time that the government specified the year in which the system could start.
Yes. So what has to happen between now and then for this to happen?
Right. So a lot of logistics and legal issues. So in the first half of this year, the government will implement what's called a differential price for the system marginal price. The SMP is basically how much KEPCO, the Korea Electric and Power Corporation, pays to buy electricity from power plants,
right?
AKA kind of the wholesale price of electricity. So the plan is to adjust the wholesale prices first and then apply that to households. But keep in mind that this isn't completely set in stone yet because there could be pushback from the capital area, so we'll keep you updated.
All right, but for now, we will look forward to that, 2026. Next up, Busan City is fast rising as a global city. We know this, right?
We know this,
feel it.
but other people know this too, and this is official via a ranking. So Busan City is ranked 252nd place out of 1,000 cities on the Global Cities Index. So this is created by the British global financial consulting firm Oxford Economics, which released its Global Cities Index for the top 1,000 cities for the first time ever.
Sure.
So it looks at 5 broad fields across the economy, human resources, quality of life, the environment, and governance. So in the top 50 places, we see mostly American and European cities, largely due to their economies. New York, number 1, London, number 2, San Jose, number 3 in California. The economy, once again, obviously playing a big role here.
Sure.
But coming to South Korea, Seoul was in the highest place at 41st, especially ranking really high in human resources, high levels of education, corporate headquarters being there, and population rise.
Right. So you mentioned that Busan came in at 252nd place?
Yes, it did. So Busan came in at 252, second highest in the country. This is actually higher than Shanghai. Specifically, Busan ranked quite high in 72nd place for governance. In terms of other aspects, 175th place for quality of life, 350th for economy, 357th for the environment, and roughly similar for human resources as well.
I see. Well, you know what? Out of 1,000 cities, I think this is a major coup.
We're talking about the entire world.
Yes,
right?
yes. So I think that's very good diversity. All right, next, there is a festival going on this weekend. There are so many this weekend, by the way, where you can go and connect with nature.
Right. So this is the 2024 Wood Culture Festival.
Like wood?
Wood, like trees but cut down.
Oh, 나무.
나무, 목재.
목재. So not even, okay, wood.
Right. Well, which comes from trees.
Yes.
So it is hosted by the Korea Forest Services at Haeundae Songrim Park. So this seeks to help people understand timber and wood, which is a very common material in everyday life.
Yes.
Our table, our our reading, the things, the stands, and increasing the usage of this natural material in everyday life. And it actually goes to different host cities every single year. So the festival is tomorrow and the day after, Saturday, Sunday. There will be many, many events, including, I love this, crafts, because in the longer I want to eventually get to this list of mine, very personal, woodworking.
I love woodwork.
Because I want to be that person who makes my own chair. It could be crickety, but, I'm the one who's going to fall flat. And my tables and stuff like that. So maybe this will be a good place for me to start.
Sure.
And then there will be events where you make furniture and donate it to local charities. There will be cooking competitions and other woodworking activities. So, and I have looked into private classes.
Yes.
They're quite expensive.
They are.
This is a really good way to get a start if you're interested. So the Korea Forest Service says that using domestically produced lumber in everyday life is actually a really green way to get us closer to that carbon neutrality.
Yes, indeed. Excuse me. So definitely look forward to that. However, we have other festivals happening. Let's look at the Busan Port Festival.
Indeed. So if you want to be by the water, go to Busan Port for the festival taking place from June 1st to the 2nd at Busan Port International Passenger Terminal, the North Port Waterfront Park, and the Yeongdo Coast Guard Pier. So this is a chance for you to kind of travel abroad while you are physically right here in Busan, because they will have different pavilions from Turkey, where they'll focus on traditional crafts, Japan, music and culture, and Thailand for their trademark healing relaxation relaxation, maybe massages culture. So the main Busan Pavilion will take form in this giant maze. And that's going to be created with large shipping containers, very on theme for the port.
Right.
And you'll have to solve, it's basically like a really huge escape room. Because you have to solve quizzes and complete missions to get through that maze. So great place for children, families, and even dates.
Sure.
Also going to the Northport Waterfront Park, there will be boating, children's essays and drawing contests, and much, much more. So the opening ceremony that's coming up next weekend, June 1st at 7:30 p.m. at the passenger ferry terminal parking lot, there will be a performance by singer Kim Bum-soo, along with a drone art show and a fireworks show.
Oh, fancy. So very nice. Yes. And lastly, let's talk about the Busan Food Film Festa. Yummy and yay.
Yes, there's also upcoming later next month. Busan Film Festa showcases two of Busan's favorite things, film and food. And that combines city's film industry with its budding restaurant and gourmet industry.
Right.
So this year's theme is rice. Is 쌀. Which is, of course, a major staple in Korean food culture, and kind of looks at how this ingredient has been evolving in three sections: choice, movie, and dining. The opening film is Tasty Ending, and films like Our Season and Painted Fire, Korean title Chuason, will screen.
Okay.
Opening night is on June 28th at 7 p.m. It's open for free on a first-come, first-served basis, and the opening film is at the Cinema Center's outdoor theater.
Yes.
And for details, you can visit the official social media channels on Facebook and Instagram at Busan Food Film Festa.
So many things to do and enjoy this weekend and coming up. Thank you for the updates, Haley. And now back to you, the listeners. Yes, we are talking about checking something off your to-do list today. I, for one, tomorrow, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to clean out my closet, I swear. There's a particular person who's in charge of vacuuming, and he keeps on asking me, Mom, when are you going to clean your closet? Because he tries to vacuum, and he's like, I have to vacuum around some of your stuff on the ground. So I've been putting it off. I'm going to do it tomorrow. So let's hear what you are going to check off your to-do list. And here is your traffic and weather. It's now 7:17 on this beautiful Friday morning. It is looking slow, however, on Luno Samsungdaedo from Myeongji Interchange to Shinho Bridge. Also backed up on the Dongso Overpass from Hwangryong Interchange to the Old Gaegeum Tollgate. Currently, it is 21 degrees here in Busan. The daytime high is expected to go up to a very warm 27 today. Although Busan will be clear throughout the day, parts of the capital and Gangwon may see some rain this morning, even showers later in the day. Looking ahead to the weekend, it will cool down considerably tomorrow with morning lows of 15 degrees and a daytime high of 24 under cloudy skies. Sunday, it's going to be quite similar, a low of 15, a high of 25, with chances of rain starting in the late afternoon. So plan your weekend accordingly. This was your traffic and weather.
Check this out.
This is Morning Wave Busan.
Everybody, wait a minute.
This is Morning Wave.
Morning Wave.
You are listening to
Morning Wave.
Morning Wave in Busan.
What show is this?
This is Morning Wave in Busan.
Here we go. Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for News Digest, and we have Haley in the studio once again. We're going to dive into their first story, and this part of this story, this investigation into the military's handling of Marine Corporal Che's death. It really has come under scrutiny in recent days.
Right. So the CIO, the Corruption Investigative Office for High-Ranking Officials, it is looking into the military's investigation into the death of Marine Corporal Che and whether there had been outside influence and even attempts to perhaps downplay the charges. So we're looking at a former head of the Marine Corps investigation team, Park Jung-un, who said that this VIP, which refers to the president, was, quote, outraged when he heard the initial investigation report by the Marine Corps. And it's Park's argument that this was kind of the force behind the alleged outside influence onto the investigation. However, Commander Kim Ge-hwan, who's at the center of the case, he denied that this so-called VIP outrage ever happened. But now the CIO apparently secured statements from another high-ranking official from the Marine Corps who says that they too heard Commander Kim mention that the VIP was angry. However, the CIO said that they cannot comment further on the matters of an ongoing investigation.
Well, however, in the meantime, the ruling party is working on damage control.
Right, because there's, of course, the legal, the judicial aspect of it, but there's also the political. So the representative-elect Shin Dong-un of the People Power Party said in a radio interview yesterday that, quote, doesn't the president have a right to be outraged? And that this is just the president expressing his opinion on matters he disagrees with in the course of running a country, and it would be wrong to paint this as him abusing his power. And then another lawmaker, Cho Hye-jin, wrote on social media that the point of the case is the investigative leader of the Marine Corps, referring to Commander Park, or former commander, overexerting allegedly his influence and taking excessive action. And their position is that it would have been dereliction of duty for the president and the defense minister not to correct this.
That's the stance. All right. Well, we're going to leave that story there for now. Next up, let's talk about South Korea's average wage, which has been going up consistently, right?
At least, we're talking about the average once again, so our individual experiences may differ, but the average wage for South Korean workers, it is catching up with the OECD average. That means we're still under. And then in other terms of specifics, we still have a bit of catching up to do, but let's get to the figures first.
Yes.
The average wages for labor in South Korea as of 2022 was $48,922 annually. And that is 66,773,000 won, so 6,600만 won, roughly. And this is 91.6% of the OECD average, and it is the highest ever for South Korea. It's also 1.4 times the figure from 30 years ago, and South Korea has been persistently bridging that gap between our wages and the OECD average. And what's notable, it's actually higher than Japan at 1.2 times. South Korea first exceeded Japan's average wages back in 2014, so 10 years ago, and we've been widening that gap ever since. And as for other countries, looking at the very top, Iceland has the highest wages, average at $79,000, and then Luxembourg at $78,000, United States at $77,000.
But you also have to take into account taxes.
That's
depending,
true.
Right.
That is very true.
Yes,
Iceland has very high taxes. Indeed.
Yes, but as you said, there is apparently still some catching up to do, correct?
Right. So the thing about our average going up, it's not because our median income, we're overall making a lot of money, but the top few percent, they are making a lot of money, so that wealth gap is growing. So first, let's look at the gender gap. Unfortunately, it is still the highest out of all OECD nations at 31.2%.
Wow.
And then also where you worked, larger corporations versus SMEs. If you worked for a corporation with 300 people or more, you made 5.9 million won per month, which is double the figure of someone who works at a small or mid-sized company.
True.
And also regular versus irregular. So we're talking about full-time versus part-time or contract workers.
Right.
They had a 1.4 time difference in their wages. So experts called for policies that would bridge these socioeconomic gaps, especially making use of women who tend to show a high employment rate in their 20s, which falters considerably in their 30s due to family.
Indeed. Well, hopefully some policies to, as you say, bridge those gaps. However, the fact that the average wages are going up, headed in the right direction. direction. All right, on to some major international news. Ireland, Spain, and Norway will formally recognize the state of Palestine. This is pretty major.
Definitely major. So in a coordinated announcement, Spain, Norway, and Ireland unveiled plans to recognize the Palestinian state. That would be next week on May 28th.
Okay.
So the Norwegian Prime Minister said a two-state solution whereby Palestine and Israel exist, it's the only alternative, while Ireland said that the decision would help create a peaceful future. So a bit of background. So this Palestinian state has been floated since the 80s, where the Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, which is the main representative of the people of Palestine, they first declared this state. It did not define the borders, but they did decline Jerusalem as the capital. So in practice, the Palestinians have limited self-governance through the Palestinian Authority, the PA, and they are in the west parts of the Israeli-occupied West Bank, whereas Hamas mostly unofficially rules Gaza. So most of the world already actually recognizes Palestinian statehood. More than 140 out of 193 member nations of the United Nations, they made that recognition official earlier this month when there was a vote to put Palestine as a member nation. It was vetoed, however. However, when we look at Europe, that number goes down significantly further at only 27 EU nations recognizing the state of Palestine. What about South Korea? Actually, South Korea does not officially recognize the state of Palestine in terms of having diplomatic relations, but it does recognize the PA, Palestinian Authority, as the only legal representative of the Palestinian people. Korea also did vote yes in that UN resolution to support Palestine coming into the United Nations.
I see.
And as for the U.S., it endorses the creation of an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. However, their position is that this state should only come through direct negotiation between Israel and Palestine.
Well, let's talk about the reactions from Israel and Palestine.
Right. So, a bit of obvious, the Palestinian Foreign Ministry, which is in the West Bank, they welcomed the decision. Hamas as well, saying that it's a turning point in the international issue on the Palestinian issue. Israel, unsurprisingly, was outraged. It actually summoned the ambassadors from the three countries to not only lodge complaints, but they actually had the ambassadors watch the quite violent footage from the October 7th attack. In any case, what this will do in the longer, larger scope, it does put pressure on other European countries, including the UK, France, and Germany, to perhaps follow them in supporting the Palestinian self-determination.
Yes, and of course, still going on, the conflict. So we will continue to cover what happens in that region of the world. So thanks for going over all the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
All right, listeners, let's take a bit of a breather. How about this song? This is an oldie but goodie, Morning Train by Sheena Easton.
Seems to last forever and time goes slowly by.
Welcome back, everybody. So today we have been talking about things that have been happening with tourism. Well, not just tourism, over-tourism. So we addressed the issue felt by the residents of the Kamton Cultural Village. But this is, of course, happening elsewhere as well. In Seoul's Bukchon Hanok Village, visitors are only allowed to visit between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. So residents say that while there have been improvements, there are still inconveniences just getting in and out of their own homes, especially as these hours are not legally enforced. And so we talked about this on the program before, but the authorities in Japan's Yamanashi Prefecture, they put up a screen covering up the view of Mount Fuji, and a popular convenience store that, as there were just so many people, they had gathered to take photos, and this was causing traffic and safety issues. But apparently people have just relocated to a different convenience store nearby, prompting suggestions of another screen. Is forcing tourists out by law the best way? I mean, whether it be through like physically blocking them or with like really high fees, is that the best way? That's a big question. We understand for the residents, it may seem like the only way to get a little peace and quiet, but I really do hope that we can figure this out together. We can find a more sustainable, considered way of going about this where, yes, we need tourism, not just here in Busan. That's just what the world is about, right? Visiting other places, taking in other people's culture, enjoying their food, and vice versa. But let's do it respectfully. All right, now back to our text topic today. You know, there is that certain feeling of satisfaction that you feel like, hey, I have to do this. I've been putting it off, but I'm going to get it done this weekend. So it's Friday. So looking forward to the weekend. Tell me something that has been on your to-do list and you're going to do it. It's been there for a while. You've been putting it off. What is it? 자, 여러분, 웨이버님들 주말에 상쾌하게 시작하는 게 좋지 않아요? 그래서 우리 이번 주말에 단 하나라도 이거만큼은 꼭 해야 되는데 안 했던 거 분명히 있을 거예요. 뭐예요, 그게? 너무 궁금해요. I talked about doing some cleaning in my closet. What else have I been putting off? Well, I do this once a year. I also, going back to my closet, once a year, I not just clean, but I mean, like, I really deep clean, meaning I look at clothes and I say, if I have not worn this in 2 years, that's my, like, little rule. If I haven't worn it in 2 years, it means I'm not going to wear it again. And then I take it out of my closet and take it to the recycling bin, or sometimes, depending like a Goodwill type of place. And if it's like in bad condition, I do throw it out because I don't want to give away stuff that is in poor condition. I don't believe in that. So that's another thing in conjunction with my actual cleaning is getting rid of things that I'm not going to wear. Looking to some of your messages. Well, Leslie says that this weekend is Memorial Weekend. Yes, it is. 3 days off in the States. So this weekend will be filled with lots of yard work. She says weeding, mowing, planting flowers, etc. Time to get the yard summer ready. I kind of miss it and don't miss it. That whole idea of like having to take care of my own backyard. It was kind of like a necessary evil, meaning if you want to enjoy your backyard, throughout the summer, then you got to put the work. You got to literally roll up your sleeves and put in the grunt work. So definitely, I feel you, Leslie. And Joy says, 전 꼭 염색하려고요. Oh, so have you been putting that off? And she's talking about dyeing her hair. I guess she's been putting it off. And then she also says 집안일을 끝이 없어서 하기 싫어요. Oh, the household chores are endless according to her. And so, yes, she doesn't want to do them. Who really enjoys doing house chores? And then we have Umberto saying, in my case, study for the PMP certification. That has been on my to-do list for a few years. school us. What is PMP certification? Can you let us know? While you think about that, everybody else, I'll be back with our hot clip. Today's Friday, so I wanted to bring you a heartwarming story. So this story involves two sisters. They were separated shortly after birth, and then they were reunited back in 2017, and I remember that. And now they're graduating from separate high schools. However, both are valedictorians of their respective classes, meaning they're graduating like 전교 1등. Let's listen to the story from Good Morning America.
Okay. It's the emotional reunion that brought us all to tears.
Come on out and meet your sister.
11-year-old twin sisters, Audrey and Gracie, meeting for the first time on Good Morning America in 2017.
How are you two feeling right now?
Excited, happy. It's very overwhelming.
The two separated and adopted from China at 15 months into two different American families.
Just felt like we weren't complete. Really would love to have a daughter.
Adoption seemed like a great way to add to our family.
The family separately adopting the twins the summer of 2007. The Dorings taking Audrey to Wisconsin. The Rainsberries taking Gracie to Washington State. Over the years, Jennifer grows curious about Audrey's past and discovers this photo in 2016. Audrey on her foster mother's knee with another identical baby.
As soon as I had that picture, I was desperate to find out who that other child was.
Since meeting on GMA, and despite living 1,700 miles apart, the twins have seen each other about twice a year, spending birthdays together. Yay! Even traveling internationally. Now, both girls valedictorians of their high school class. Audrey graduating this week, Gracie by her side to celebrate.
What's been the best part of getting to know your sister?
Yeah, I mean, obviously our situation is not like other twins. You know, we met 7 years ago, but we've just had so many amazing opportunities, and we've been able to travel together and experience so many firsts, which has been special. And I think just the best part is spending time with each other, getting to experience like little bits of our lives together, and just seeing how we've matured, but how we're still very similar.
I remember this story from 2017, and then to see them, I was like thinking, where did time go? I mean, they're graduating from high school. They're all going out on their own. One's going to go to Vanderbilt. The other's going to go to the Eastern Oregon University, where they're going to actually, she's going to be playing soccer. That's pretty amazing. And the fact is, I was thinking about this. So is it genetics? Like they're separated at birth, they're twins, and they both graduate #1 at their respective schools. That's pretty amazing. So I just wanted to bring you this heartwarming story on a Friday. This was your hot clip for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for Casey and Foreign Press Highlights. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. I'm feeling it's Friday for sure. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Ready for this weekend.
Hey, so speaking of the weekend, tell us one thing that's on your to-do list that you've been kind of putting off that you're going to try to tackle. Promise me you're going to do it. You got to promise our listeners.
Oh, no, I'm going to fail at this.
Why?
Really?
Why?
Do I really have to do it?
Yes, you have to do it.
What is it? Wow. One thing is like catching up on attendance and grades. Like I do attendance every day, but I get so many of these medical notes from students.
Did you see that look of like...
You know what I'm talking about?
In my eyes, because I'm like, you just reminded me of something
You got to do it too, huh? Oh
There's
my
so
goodness.
many like, excused absences. They you got to bring the doctor's note and...
I never did this in university. I was absent. It never even occurred to me.
But in Korea, attendance is like very important. It's quite, I'm not saying attendance isn't important in the U.S., but not like here where like, it's like, I'm sick.
I just don't want to go today.
No, like literally, I remember like the first time, I called in sick for the kids. It was like on that day many years ago where it really snowed really, really hard. I think those of you who were in Busan at that time, it was to the point where
snowed hard in Busan?
We made snowmen. So, I mean,
wow.
And so we're like, it's a snow day. And so we call the school. We're like, oh, they won't be coming in. And they're like, why are they sick? And I was like, no, it's snowing. And they're like, and like, they're kind of like, yeah.
Even though it snows so rarely here.
Right. And plus it's on on a hill. They're like, and?
Wow.
I was just like, oh, well, then they won't be coming in today.
That's a question I've been wondering about. Like, I remember being young, and if you did miss like elementary school, let's say, like they did often ask for like, maybe a parent's signed
note.
Right. And just to see you weren't cutting school, right?
But some of my friends used to forge their parents' signature. I remember. I was not one, but anyhow.
I can't believe someone would do that.
Casey. Mm-hmm. All right, so you're going to work on your attendance sheets.
I should. I get so many messages this week.
Do it.
Different events and whatever. I don't know what they're doing. They're not in my class. That's all I know.
All right, let's dive into our first story. What's it about? Where's it from? Obviously, they're all about Korea.
That's right.
From the perspective of foreign outlets. So,
okay,
where are we going?
Well, this time, let's start with the BBC.
Yes.
And this is kind of a very big story that happened over last weekend. So what happened was the BBC released this documentary, and it's available you can see it on the NawTube.
Yes.
It's entitled Burning Sun, and it's got a longer subtitle as well. And the reaction to this documentary is about, the Burning Sun scandal from a few years ago.
Right.
And it kind of just stirred up a lot of things that people hadn't maybe talked about.
This is on my to-do list.
To watch it?
To watch it, because I've heard about it and I want to actually see it. I mean, from the perspective of the BBC. Yes.
Well, and they've also got, this article is called My Heart Still Hurts, the personal sacrifice of revealing a K-pop scandal. So it's about one part of that. And they do have a link in there as well. There's apparently like a 6-part podcast also. So they have a lot of material that they've created about this topic. And this particular one features 2 female journalists here in South Korea named Park Hyo-sil and Kang Kyung-yoon.
Yes.
And it's this article focuses just on them and what happened to them because they were involved in revealing this information. Their lives were just completely turned upside down, and they kind of had no idea at the time when they got involved with this story what it was going to do to them.
Right. So, first up, how did they find out about the scandal?
Yeah, this whole thing, it's like what you would see in like the X-Files or something. It just sounds like a lot of secret information being passed around, a lot of tips. So Park Hyo-sil was the first one to find out in September 16th.
Sure.
She was just having a normal day. She's leaving the office on a Friday, going to meet a friend for dinner.
And then?
And she received a phone call from her newspaper editor. He received a tip-off from a trusted police source.
Ooh.
And she said, he told me there was a big case being investigated. It involved secretly recorded sex footage and a big-name celebrity, Jung Jun-young.
Yes.
And at the time, this guy was loved by millions of people. He was a TV star. He was a singer-songwriter. And the source said that Jung's girlfriend had accused him of secretly filming her, which is, they introduced this in the article as something known as molka here.
Yes.
She was kind of, okay.
Do they actually use that word?
Yeah, in the article, yeah. And I think throughout the documentary, they kind of introduce,
vernacular.
Right, that is used here that people wouldn't know outside of Korea.
Sure. So what happened next?
So she immediately canceled her dinner plans with a friend, went straight back to the office to meet the editor. And she said, we just didn't want to miss the scoop. We received this information. We wanted to publish it as soon as possible.
Sure.
They published that story that Friday evening at 10:50 p.m. And she was like, I had no idea what the reaction was going to be.
Or how massive probably the story was going to turn into, right?
Right. They said within minutes, the story made headlines across South Korea. Jung's management team quickly released a statement that said the police investigation was a quote-unquote unimportant incident inflated by the press.
Hello. I'm just saying.
Right. And then Jung's fans quickly turned on the girlfriend and accused her of lying about him. Then they turned on Park Hyo-sil, and she said the media became the villain and she bore the brunt of it.
Oh, that is very, very...
unfortunate, right?
Unfortunate. It kind of really gets under my skin. It bothers me.
And
really
I think
does.
that's why there's been such a big reaction to this documentary coming out, because this is something that happened more than a few years ago now.
Yes.
But it still stirs up things that obviously were under the surface and probably haven't completely disappeared. So yeah, there's a lot of...
how bad was it? I mean, I'm sure she got a lot of pressure. But how bad?
So she received tons of abusive comments. She received malicious emails. People would post her image on the internet and just insult her, insult her face, insult her body. For example, one person said, like, "What a face, makes me want to stamp on it." That can't feel good.
Okay.
And she received death threats. She said her husband was so worried about it that he was like, "Don't go to work." It seems like just too dangerous to even leave the house. And I thought, like, would you go to work in that situation?
I mean, at the time, though, I didn't realize that she was getting the brunt of whatever anger people were feeling, but she was just reporting on a true story.
But this kind of shows you, like, the power that celebrity can bring about. Like, people become so blinded about, following you or just believing you as a human being that anybody who counters that is
a threat.
A threat. And then they will be treated as such.
Right. I mean, we just had another different story.
Right.
A very famous singer, DUI, but they call him like his super fans, like really putting up a wall. It seems.
Right.
Some, not all the fans, but some of the fans, and please don't send me hate mail.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing.
I'm just reporting on the news, right?
It kind of, at some point when you become so famous, I think is what a big point of this is, you almost become more than human, where people can't believe that you would do something human-like, which in other words, make mistakes.
Yes.
And these mistakes are huge mistakes, by the way.
I was going to say, I don't know if calling this is...
No, these are beyond...
Illegal, immoral,
right.
How many different, adjectives can we throw out there?
Right,
Yes.
But it's just like people can't see you as a human being capable of doing something wrong.
Right, what about there were two, right, female reporters?
Yeah.
What about the other one?
I do want to mention this
Yes.
as well. Park at the time was pregnant, that she was receiving all this abuse, and she unfortunately had a miscarriage. And, she can't say exactly for sure that that's connected to that, but she feels that was a huge part of like her emotional state at the time. And
yes.
Yeah, so to just think about that, to abuse verbally and, harass a pregnant woman, I can't imagine being able to do that, but people did that.
Yes.
So what happened with the other reporter, Kang Kyung-yoon? So basically, Jung Jun-young was interviewed by police in 2016. They said, "Can you give us your mobile phone? We want to check it."
I remember.
Instead, he gave it to a private company, and he was unaware that they made a copy of that data.
Yeah.
And then 3 years later, it leaked, and it got to Kang Kyung-yoon. And then she said when she saw what the phone actually contained, she said her heart still hurts when she thinks of that.
So what did she find? Just generally speaking, it's a family show where, it's a morning show. We can't give you the graphic details, but generally speaking, what did she find?
She expected to find what everybody else would be expecting, like just him and his girlfriend.
Yes.
But instead, she stumbled on this chat group, which involved a lot of K-pop stars, like Choi Jong-hoon of FT Island and Seungri of Big Bang. And this was this chat culture of sharing images and talking about women and like they're not human.
Right,
I mean, that's
basically.
the gist of it. It's gross.
Right. So what happened to her?
Same thing.
Attacks?
A bit. But the reaction when she published her story was different. So when she published her story, because this was about 3 years later, this time the authorities quickly acted, arrested Jung, and this kind of encouraged the fact that he was arrested. This encouraged other victims to come forward and start pressing charges against the stars.
Yes.
But if you think about it, they had just witnessed what had happened the last time. So this must have taken a lot of bravery to come forward and do that. But they did say, a lot of women did overcome the fear of being stigmatized and humiliated and did file criminal charges against these singers, not just one, singers.
So if we had to wrap up this discussion of this particular story, what would you say? Like to put it in like a nutshell?
The most interesting comment about this, because both reporters were both pregnant when they were facing their, criticism for just doing their job, basically.
Yes.
In this article, they both said they feel like there is a cultural shift taking place in South Korea in a good way.
In a good way, okay.
And now Kang Kyung-yoon is a mother. She's got a daughter, and they really have no regrets about their role in spreading this information because it's important. Women do need to be protected, and it's a big warning, they say, about how sex and power in the K-pop industry can corrupt, and they hope that this has made some kind of change and some kind of impact that people still remember.
Yes,
and obviously it did, because this documentary definitely had an impact over the weekend.
Right. Well, that's on my to-do list.
Yeah.
All right, quickly, one more story. What is it about?
Yes. So this is from CNN, but the BBC as well. A lot of articles came out over a song being banned recently. The CNN article is why South Korea is banning a song that recently went viral on TikTok. And it's a North Korean propaganda song, sometimes titled Friendly Parent, sometimes titled Friendly Father. And it has gone viral. There are a lot of mashups, people using the song in their own videos, and it's getting millions of views. And South Korea is taking the other tack and saying they're banning the tune due to quote unquote psychological warfare.
Wow.
Have you seen this video?
Actually, this is one that I haven't seen. I don't use the TT.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Right,
but it's very easy to find.
Okay.
You'll find all sorts of interpretations of it. But basically, the song came out in April. There was a nighttime concert to mark the completion of a housing project in Pyongyang, according to state media. And the lyrics, not surprisingly, praise the leader of North Korea. It's the video. There's dancing. There's sharp editing.
Really?
Production values are higher than normal. One person in the article compared their previous videos to like what you see in a karaoke room, where it's like nature footage. It's kind of cheesy. But this is apparently a step up in production quality.
I see.
And it has gone all around the internet.
Right. So why the worry about this video? Does the article mention?
They say actually it's not a surprise that it was banned. The National Security Act here regularly blocks access to any kind of North Korean government websites or media. They want to basically limit exposure to what comes out of there. You could get penalized if you share this kind of information. And the Korea Communications Standards Commission is the group that blocked this video. And they said the video's typical content linked to psychological warfare against South Korea. The idea is they're just trying to get attention for their regime and try to legitimize it. So this is nothing new, but the difference this time that it was posted on TikTok, which is a Chinese-owned organization.
Yes.
And the fact that it went so viral.
They wanted to pull the plug on that one real quick, huh?
Right.
All right.
Attempts.
Well, might have to check that. So many things on my to-do list now. So.
Yes, there you go. Good luck with getting the attendance done.
Yes. That
See,
will
this is how
probably
it
be number
happens.
3 now.
Right.
It's gonna, move further back on the back burner. Well, we're gonna call it a day for today for this segment. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you real soon. Thank you, Casey.
Good luck over this weekend. Get stuff done.
You too, though.
I'll try.
All right. Let's get to our final song for hour number 1. This is 살다 보면. Oh, excuse me. 살다 보면 by 권진원. So enjoy. I'll be back at 8.
살다 보면 괜시리 외로운 날 너무도 많아. 나도 한번 꿈 같은 사랑 해봤으면 좋겠네. 살다 보면 하루하루 힘든 일이 너무도 많아. 가끔 어디 혼자서 훌쩍 떠났으면 좋겠네. 수많은 근심 걱정 멀리 던져버리고 언제나
BFFF 부산 영어.
everyone, I'm Risa from Indonesia. It's my 4th year living here in Busan as an undergraduate student at Gyeongsang University. Let me first describe what my hometown looks like. Jakarta, Indonesia is surrounded by beautiful oceans, exotic temples, and strong dialects. Does any of this ring a bell? Yes. The descriptions also fit very well with Busan. 7 beaches, attractive temples like Haedong Yeonggongsa, and we can't forget the famous dialect Busan 사투리. And that's when I knew Busan was going to be my second home. I grew up so much in Busan that I even mentor other students from Indonesia to help them with their Korean and life in Busan. When I teach them Korean, I sometimes see myself using 사투리. Looking back, I remember struggling to understand what my professors were saying because they were using 찐 Busan 사투리, you know, the real Busan dialect. But I think that's what makes Busan more of my home. Through the dialect, I feel the warm charm that no other city can mimic. Global City Busan. We are in it together. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
It's morning!
And what a lovely morning!
Dynamic Busan.
Good morning!
Good morning!
Good morning!
Good morning.
Hello, Shelly.
What show is this?
Hello, baby.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, everybody. Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now 8 o'clock. This is News Highlights. South Korea, China, and Japan to hold trilateral summit in Seoul next week. President Yoon Suk-yeol will meet with Chinese Premier Lee Chung and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Seoul on Monday for the first time in 4.5 years, the presidential office said yesterday. Yoon will separately hold bilateral talks with Lee and Kishida at the presidential office. On Sunday, it will be Lee's first visit to South Korea since taking office in March 2023. Kim said the summit will cover 6 areas of cooperation, comprising economy and trade, sustainable development, health issues, science and technology, and safety management and people-to-people exchanges, which will be included in a joint statement. Political leaders gather at memorial service for late President Roh Moo-hyun. Key political leaders gathered in the southeastern part of the country yesterday for a memorial service marking the 15th anniversary of the death of former President Roh Moo-hyun. The ceremony was held in Bongha Village in Kimhae, with major participants including Roh's wife, Kwon Young-suk, former President Moon Jae-in, and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, along with the heads of the ruling People Power Party and the opposition Democratic Party. President Yoon Suk-yeol, meanwhile, sent a memorial wreath instead of attending in person. BOK freezes rates again amid inflation woes. In a widely expected decision, the Monetary Policy Board of the Bank of Korea decided to keep its benchmark rate at 3.5% for the 11th consecutive time. The rate freeze took place as inflationary pressure in the Korean economy still remains high, while the country's economy is expected to grow faster than expected this year on the back of robust exports. South Korea's inflation rose 2.9% in April, marking the first time in 3 months that the index fell below 3%. But the reading is still higher than the central bank's midterm inflation target of 2%. Kakao fined a record 15.1 billion won for personal data leak. The Personal Information Protection Commission, PIPC, fined Kakao Corporation 15.1 billion won yesterday for the leak of about 65,000 users' personal data, and that's the highest penalty ever imposed on a domestic firm. PIPC's investigation last year revealed that the hackers exploited lax data protection on the open chat service to steal participants' personal information and put it up for sale. The privacy watchdog said that Kakao's lax user data scrutiny and protection measures led to the massive data leak. Police arrest suspect who orchestrated Gyeongbokgung Palace vandalism. Police said yesterday they have arrested a suspect who allegedly commissioned teenagers to paint graffiti on the walls of a historic palace in Seoul to advertise an illegal streaming website. The 30-something suspect who was arrested the previous day faces charges of violating the Cultural Heritage Protection Act, as well as other charges, including the distribution of obscene materials, according to the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency. Police have secured evidence that the suspect committed the act to promote his website. Additionally, he faces charges of posting child exploitation materials on that site. And this was News Highlights. It is now time for Issue Waggle Waggle. So Haley's back to do our waggling once again.
Oh, and there's a lot to waggle about.
Oh, really? Well, first, we're going to dive into this story. We all know about the Busan roundhouse kick case, and there was a similar case of attempted rape and murder in Daegu, but the defendant just received I guess we'll call it a vastly reduced sentence.
Right. So be prepared to get your blood boiling slightly.
Here we go.
So a man in his 20s has been found guilty of following a woman on her way home. He tried to rape her and then tried to kill her boyfriend to try to stop this. This all happened in Daegu fairly recently. The boyfriend suffers from permanent brain damage. Apparently his intellect is now on the level of an 11-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
So in the first trial, the defendant was sentenced to 50 years in prison, and it was quite heralded as kind of a big change in how the country treats these crimes.
Yes.
However, yesterday, Daegu High Court turned that around and reduced that sentence to 27 years. That's just a little bit over half. So the judge found that even though the victims have not forgiven the defendant, there were several causes for a reduced sentence.
I am so curious as to figure out or find or at least listen to what those several causes were.
So, number one, the defendant has expressed his repentance and admitted to the crime from the get-go, from the investigation phase. Both the rape and murder didn't go through.
That's why it's called attempted rape and attempted murder.
They stopped at an attempted phase, which the defendant was charged with, and they charged the maximum anyways. And the attempted murder part at least seems to not have been premeditated. So the victim's symptoms improved, although slightly, but once again, the boyfriend does suffer from permanent brain damage.
Yes.
And however, and this is puzzling, the victims refused to accept the money, but the defendant apparently put his apartment up for collateral and paid the criminal fines to the government, to the police, of 100 million won. But once again, that was to the victim's refusal.
Yes.
So this means the man is in his 20s. He will be released in his 50s. So, yeah.
I don't know. Anytime I hear about like repentance after a crime, I mean, that's kind of like, it should be a given.
Can we
like, if
also,
you are guilty,
once again, the victims have not forgiven the man and they suffer from permanent damage. And, you know, we did really, I mean, not that I've ever felt happy about this, but I felt at least there was a bit of justice in that 50-year sentence.
A change.
Now it's 27 years. So has anything changed?
I don't know. Well, this next story, oh no, is this gonna boil?
It's not gonna boil our blood. It's just
okay,
raising eyebrows.
Yeah. All right. This one involves our city, Busan, and these 5 words over a local tunnel that puzzled and startled drivers.
Right.
5
so
words.
okay, rest assured, the rest of my wager stories are lighter. They're not like crimes.
We're going from like. We're moving on up,
it's only up from here. So earlier this week, Busan City installed these letters. Try to figure out what this means. Ready? 꾀끼깡꼴끈 on top of Daeyeon Tunnel on Pyeongro. No, that's not a tongue twister.
Are they like practicing singing or enunciating? Like, are they practicing for like, broadcasting?
People were puzzled.
What is that?
This quickly caught online and they're trying to figure out what could it possibly mean. Turns out this is what Mayor Park Hyung-jun had said earlier this month to the City Hall employees. 5 virtues of a civil servant. 꾀, like wisdom, kind of wit, wisdom. What was it? 기 is energy and talent. 깡, courage, and this is kind of it's more casual vernacular.
Yes.
꼴, design, and 끈, like 연결끈, like ties, networking.
And you can see a visual on our YouTube channel.
It is big.
꾀끼깡꼴끈.
Right.
That is a tongue twister.
And the letters are bigger than the tunnel, the signs for the tunnel. So it's quite big. So
I'm going to go through that tunnel. So I get to see that today?
No.
No?
It is no, because there was criticism that this was not the best use of the public budget to post it in such a large font on top of a tunnel.
That's huge.
So the city took it down yesterday.
Oh, they did?
At least they're taking rapid action, and the mayor apologized. In his statement, he said that this was inappropriate. He actually wasn't reported on this ahead of time, but directed a department in charge to rectify this and promised to have the city and its institutions look really carefully about whether their work meets the standards of the people.
Okay, I missed it.
We did.
Oh, but I went that way Wednesday. I think I was like dozing in the car. So I go through that tunnel like every day.
You don't really pay attention, but people who did, they were like, what is that? What is that?
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Next, companies and organizations in South Korea give, congratulatory money. Monetary gifts, right? When their employees get married as part of their official benefits.
Right.
However, what happens if an employee chooses not to get married, never gets married?
Great question. So
어떻게 돼요?
BIK Industrial Bank of Korea, their union held a meeting recently, and they're going to start giving 비혼금. So as opposed to 축의금, which is the congratulatory money, 비혼금, money for those who vow to stay single. And that's going to kick in within the year.
Okay.
So the bank gives paid time off and congratulatory money for employees who get married. But that has received complaints from single employees who do intend to stay single. Is that fair? Is that fair or unfair?
Right.
And it is significant because the Ministry of Economy and Finance, they have half the stakes of IBK.
Sure.
So that makes it at least a partially publicly owned entity. But it is already common in private companies. For instance, SK Securities gives 1 million won if an employee declares him, her, or herself pihon to remain single.
Okay.
LGU Plus give the same bonus and paid time off as someone who gets married to someone who does vow to be single.
I didn't even know if you get married in Korea that you got.
You do. You get like it's kind of like when an immediate relative dies, the company will send the flowers, the wreath, and give time off. It's same with marriage.
Okay, so let's talk about the response. What's the response been like?
Well, it's divided, and it's kind of obvious based on their marital status. Some people push this further, saying that if you don't have kids, whether you're single or if you're a dink, they should still receive benefits that are on par with a company which pays for the employees' children to put them through college tuition. On the other hand, they may fear about what larger message this could be sending because we are a country of the world's lowest birth rate, which the government is trying to get that up. So while we can't really control private companies from doing so, having a public institution or a publicly funded institution sort of do this, people are wondering, are we looking like we are encouraging people to stay single? Right.
Incentive to stay single?
Yeah.
$1 million? Okay.
Really?
Really? Okay. Well, lastly, this story has really gotten tongues wagging online. So let's all weigh in, but let's listen to Haley explain the
listeners
story.
weigh in. So we have all most likely had customer service type jobs. I was a waitress for years and years. And not going to lie, I loved it when it was a slow day. Because,
not much to do.
I'm getting paid minimum wage no matter what. So, but the thing is, I had the state of mind to not say that to my boss.
Like straight up?
Yeah, of course. Of like, I love it when your business is horrible.
Yeah, when your business is failing.
But one person did.
Like really?
On their first day. Yeah. So there's an online post showing CCTV footage from a restaurant submitted by the owner. The establishment is completely empty. And the owner and the employee on his or her first day sitting at the table. Apparently the boss says, "Oh, it's slow today." The worker says, "Yeah, I hope it always stays like this." And then the boss says, "What?" The employee says, I hope we will continue to not have customers. He or she clarified.
So in Korean, what would that be? Like,
손님이 계속 없었으면 좋겠어요. And the boss says, well, that's not something you should say to the owner.
And what did they say?
Oh, I'm just being honest. I'm just an honest person. I didn't mean it in a bad way. So what wound up is he or she got fired. The boss sent the employee home, declaring that he didn't really want to work with this person anymore.
Okay.
So netizens are divided. I think everyone agrees that's not the appropriate thing to say.
That was rude.
But as for being laid off because of that, people are like, well, if this is their first job, is this something that can be taught? And that's something I always struggle with, even with my students.
Yes.
If they behave in an odd way, it's like, well, as an adult who's like at least 10 years older than you, is it my duty to correct and try to set you on the right path? Or will you call me 건데 if I do that? Will you be offended if I do that?
Oh,
what do you think, listeners?
You and I are both 건des. It's okay.
And
that's our nature, regardless of the age.
Right here. It just sits there.
Yeah, so waivers, what do you think? Who was in the wrong?
Done? I think I would have said something, first try. First strike in a nice way, but it is a business. And by the way, I am 건데, so I'll tell you this, but you probably shouldn't say that.
I would say it in a way that they might understand. I would say, but we need those customers to be able to pay your wages. So the more customers we have,
so adult, you're so mature. Look at you.
I would say something though, definitely, not just let it sit there. Well, we're going to call it a wrap for this segment, and we'll check in with you on Monday. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great weekend.
All right, and now let's get our updated traffic and weather. It is is now 8:15 on this beautiful Friday morning, but there is some congestion to report on. There's an accident on the Dong-so overpass going away from the city right past the Bomnegor ramp. Also, a car is broken down on the Seobusan Nakdonggang Bridge on Namhae Expressway going towards Kimhae. It's very slow on Gwangan Bridge all the way to the Daejeon overpass. There's also congestion on Chunyeoldae from Minam to Daesung intersection. Currently, it is 23 degrees under clear skies. The daytime high will go up to 27. By the way, the finest level is bad right now. Keep that in mind. Although Busan, it's going to be clear throughout the day, there are parts of the capital area and Gangwon, and they might see some rain this morning and even showers later on in the day. Looking ahead to our weekend, it's going to cool down considerably tomorrow. So on both days, very similar. A low of 15, a high of 24 to 25. However, on Sunday, there are, some chances of rain starting late afternoon. So there you have it. This is your traffic and weather. And this is a song request from Umberto, I believe, 50 Ways to Say Goodbye by Train.
Oversized, I'll take the high road like I should. You said it's meant to be, that it's not you, it's me. You're living now for my own good. That's cool, but if my friends ask where you are, I'm gonna say she went down in an airplane, fried, getting suntan, feeling a cement mixer full of quicksand. Help me, I'm no good at goodbye. She met a shark underwater, fell and no one caught her. I returned everything I ever bought her. Help me, I'm all out of lines and ways to say still feels the sting. You were my everything. Someday I'll find a love like yours. A love like yours. She'll think I'm Superman, not Superman even. How could you live on Yom Kippur? That's cool, but if my friends ask where you are, I'm gonna say she was caught in a mudslide, eaten by a lion, got run over by a crappy purple scion. Help me, I'm no good at the night. She got up in the desert, drowned in a hot tub, danced to death at an Eastside nightclub. Help me, I'm all out of lines and ways to say my friends ask where you are, I'm gonna say that's cool, but if my friends ask where you are, I'm gonna say she went down in an airplane, fried, getting suntan, fell in a cement mixer full of quicksand. Help me, I'm no good at goodbye. She met a shark underwater, fell and no one caught her. I returned everything I ever bought her. Help me, I'm all out of lines. She was caught in a mudslide, eaten
Yes. And by the way, as Umberto points out, and probably one of the reasons why he requested that song, the founder, one of the founding members of the band, Charlie Colin, he actually just passed away. It was kind of shocking news. He slipped in the shower and apparently died as a result of, he was only 58. And yeah, rest in peace. That was pretty shocking news indeed. Back to your text topic. Before we get into our special interview, I asked, what is something that you want to cross off your to-do list? Not your bucket list, but, just your to-do list. Endless chores or things that you've been putting off. And some of you have some really interesting ones. Like, for example, Tommy says that he needs to clean out the fish tank. Oh, we used to have a fish tank. That is definitely a lot of responsibility, like any pet you have. But I mean, you got to clean it because you don't want like the moss and all the icky stuff in the water to grow, all that bacteria, like algae, like things. Oh, so yes, definitely my roommate was in charge of that. Yeah, and then finally I said, you know what, let's just get rid of, after the last fish passed away, and I do say passed away because we bought goldfish, and the last one lasted 5 years and grew to, people think I'm kidding. I have a photo. I measured it with a measuring tape from I don't know, what do you call, like lips of a fish to the tail. Yes. 30 centimeters, not kidding you. What else? 은희, thank you. Waiver says, 그냥 아무것도 안 하고 싶어요. You're so honest. They say, I just don't want to do anything. So true. I feel you. But if you had to do something, what would you do? Jade says this: organize a kitchen, a to-do list that I have resolved since the new year. Every day I start by listening to a new topic and thinking about the day. Oh, and then I listen to it in the car on my child's way to school. Oh, well, thank you for sending in your messages, even though you're busy. All right, I'll be back in just a moment with our special interview.
Is this the
This is our special interview. We've talked about AI numerous times on our program. Well, AI is definitely making waves in the music industry because we're talking about the creation of music through AI these days. However, this technology has raised significant questions about the future of the music industry itself as AI continues to evolve. Its impact on the cultural and economic aspects of music really does remain a crucial area of exploration and fierce debate. So, would you listen to music knowing that it's, been basically made by an AI program? Are you okay with that? Well, let's find out more. We have invited Professor Oliver Bown, Associate Professor at the School of Art and Design at the University of New South Wales. Hi, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yes. So let's talk about AI music and how it's, how does it work exactly? Some people call it like ChatGPT for music, but generally speaking, what are we talking about in terms of the production of AI-produced music?
So we've seen changes coming really, really fast in this area. So only 5 years ago, there were lots of projects multiplying in AI and music using different methods. But what's come on really fast and has come to dominate this sector is the full generation of musical segments at the audio level. So building up the entire sound using an AI model to generate literally sample by sample of the waveform. But at the same time, being able to generate sound at that level, but also producing the structure and the orchestration and the elements that we recognize as songs. And it's very, very powerful technology. It's pretty much taken everybody by surprise, I think. The standard interface nowadays as well that's made this immediately an end user technology is the fact that it can be text driven. So essentially what you do is you take a giant data set of music, but also music which has associated text with it. That might be the reviews of the music or people's descriptions of the music, wherever you can get audio that has text with it. And if you cleverly train a model with the audio and the text together, you can use it as an associative generator, which means that someone can write text and the model will then generate music in response to that text. That has the remarkable transformative ability that not only is it very powerful at generating music, but it's an incredibly powerful interface because literally anybody can sit there and type text in one of these generators and get something. Now, the big question is, what do they get and why and where does it come from? And how much control does that person have? And these are emerging very early stage questions because we really have only had this technology for a while. And yet at the same time, we've already got now rapidly growing cultures of web platforms that allow people to go online and play with this stuff. So we'll be seeing the answers to those questions emerging in real time.
Yes. So if we take a look at how AI-generated music is impacting what we consider, the traditional music industry, overall, what would you say, Professor?
This is all sending shockwaves through the music industry, as it is any of the creative industries at the moment. But more those creative industries which are dealing with the distribution of digital products, video, image, and music. The image generation world is probably slightly further ahead because the earliest creative AI breakthroughs using this technology were image generators, and people know that because you will now find an AI image generator embedded in any social media app you care to use. And it's really I've been writing about this for years and saying one day we might casually send an auto-generated song to somebody for their birthday, and the next thing you know, it's actually embedded in the software you're using. The big reason it's sending, there's a couple of reasons it's sending shockwaves through the industry. Firstly, because people are adapting to start to use this technology. But more importantly, the vast majority of music artists depend on revenue from sales of their music.
Yes.
And it goes without saying that this is going to have a negative impact on a recording artist because it just simply produces new and faster and more sort of just faster and more powerful ways for someone else, particularly corporations, not just individual artists, but big corporations, to just sort of fill the channels, the airwaves of the internet with music. So it's just a more competitive area.
Yes.
And I think it does have great potential to decimate music culture. We have to be really mindful of what corporate-led innovation in this area might have as a longer-term impact.
Yes. Well, can we also look at the potential benefits of using AI to create music, whether it's for artists or consumers? We are talking about kind of the industry's reaction and not quite positive to the use of AI-generated music. But what about, are there any potential benefits?
I think, having issued that caution, I don't want to be one of those people that simply repeats the angst about photography or synthesizers, because we have to work with the technological landscape we have, and photography did not destroy art like people may have predicted. And many people talk about the in quotes democratizing effect of new technologies to enable more people to create. So with caution, because I think you can easily sort of have that spiel, but not necessarily be in it for serving creative industries. There is clearly an interesting potential that people are empowered to create music. But there's a lot we need to learn about that. So new tools like Udio and Suno, you can log in, create an account, go online, and within seconds you're playing around with typing prompts that will generate interesting music. And I think this is a very interesting shift. People can now have music sort of served to them on request without there being a musical artist involved in doing that. That's an absolutely radical transformation. And we may live in a world where a common way to experience music is to go onto one of these platforms and just say, I feel like hearing jazz infused with harpsichord today. What have you got? Yes. And that's fun. It also comes with these risks.
Right. Well, for your personal opinion, what do you think of the AI-generated music that you've heard? Do you feel that, generally speaking, it's pretty good? Have you been surprised? Have you been let down? What do you think?
I've definitely been surprised because as I said, I've worked in this area for quite a long time.
Yes.
I was involved in, throughout the 2010s, organising lots of academic events where people would come and showcase their experimental generative music systems. So I've seen this technology evolve, and there's no doubt in my mind that it went through a spike of innovation, which came along with people will all be aware of GPT and the large language model revolution. Again, we know because it's built into our phones instantly. So I've found the last few years to be surprising, even with a fairly good awareness of what's involved in that technology. And I think we're definitely at a point where, on the one hand, these systems, many artists who are critical of AI are right to say that these work in quite a derivative way. They're driven by the training data that they're given, and they end up being quite, we could say, banal and derivative, sort of pale imitations of the human art that has been used to train them. That's true, and again, it's important to acknowledge. But there's also something that's important to acknowledge, which is that these systems do something quite clever, which is they extract the underlying logic and structure and complexity of that music. So they might not be great at what they do.
Yes.
But from an intellectual point of view, they're incredibly interesting. And I've sat and listened to music that these systems have generated and found it triggers, it stimulates me, it triggers emotions, it works as music. So we really have to have a giant debate nationally or globally, amongst arts communities, and this is something that needs to be really carefully thought through, because we need new terminology, new concepts, new ways of thinking about what technology does here.
So this question just kind of came to me as you were speaking, Professor, but when you talked about like intellectuals, I was thinking intellectual property, copyright issues. So when we have AI-generated music, then can the person who might have used text or any other type of program to generate that music, then will that person be able to, I guess, I don't know, file for some sort of copyright on that music that was generated by AI?
There's a couple of factors there. So I begin this by saying I'm not a copyright expert. I'm not a legal expert.
Yes.
But most copyright regulations in different jurisdictions have some principle that there has to be a sufficient level of human labor involved in creating something in order for you to warrant copyright. And there are very many interesting edge cases where someone's been denied or granted intellectual property rights over something. And it's a very fiddly area.
Yes.
But the basic principle goes that if all you did was sort of click a couple of buttons and tell a machine to create something, then you haven't done the creative labor, and that's like a fundamental principle of copyright.
Sure.
But this sort of, AI has really thrown some interesting angles on this, because you can take a company that just scrapes the internet and steals images and music and makes a generator, and then somebody uses that. Now, there's a separate debate about the rights of artists to stop those companies using their data.
I see, yes.
In short, I think artists should have the right to stop companies using their data. But if you take a company like Getty Images, who happens to own a huge load of images,
yes,
and they've produced an AI generator. If they own all of those images, and then they've used AI to create mashups of those images, arguably they hold the copyright of whatever's produced, even if AI is involved, and they can grant that to other people. I think these are the really tricky cases. So there's a fundamental principle of labor that you have to have done something.
I see.
And that throws into disarray all of these other situations where, and particularly with corporations hoovering up and owning lots and lots of data.
To wrap up our discussion, Professor, though, because we're almost out of time, the AI-generated music right now, the influence on the future landscape of just the music industry itself, what would you say to that? I mean, how big of an impact is this going to have on the future of music?
I think it's going to be profound. I think the most important thing to remember is that there's always a generational change that comes with any new technology. So what the current vanguard of creators thinks may be very different to what the generation coming up through school and into the workplace thinks.
Yes.
So I think there's going to be giant cultural changes. And I think there's disruption, but the exciting thing for me is to think about how music as a fixed medium, we listen to tracks, has the potential to change and become a live medium. Listen to live music, but we can also imagine new forms of experience where we listen to music that is dynamically generated. And I think that's exciting for artists to have new spaces to explore.
Yes, indeed. Well, such a great discussion with you. Thanks for coming on air with us and sharing your knowledge with our listeners. We do appreciate your time. Thank you, Professor.
Pleasure. Thank you.
This was Professor Oliver Bown, and we talked about AI, how it's influencing music creation and the larger music industry as well. All right, we're going to take a short break. This is September by Earth, Wind & Fire.
Chasing the clouds.
listening to the world's most reliable morning show, Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Text in to BEFM # 9050 for 101. You can also reach us for free through our YouTube live stream or on Kakao Talk. Begin your morning with Catherine, and don't forget to reboot your day after lunch. Stay tuned for Steve Hatherley Reboot every day from 2 to 4 p.m.
It's time for What in the World. We have the lovely Laura in the studio. You look so nice, fancy.
Thanks very much. I dressed up for the occasion.
Yeah, just for me. Thanks. I appreciate
I
it.
put sun cream in my eyes. So
she's not crying. I didn't make her cry.
I'm not crying. Already.
Like off air, like we weren't yelling at each other. No.
She's so mean.
No.
No, I always do this. Because I get up in the morning, I do my wash my face, have my shower, and then I've got like 3 or 4 steps to put on my face.
Mm-hmm.
And my sun cream always gets in my eyes, and so it's really stingy.
Yeah, so
and I didn't put any mascara on yet.
She
thankfully.
is not crying.
I'm not crying. Maybe later.
Yeah. So,
Anyway.
real quick for a text topic today, we are talking about crossing something off your to-do list, not your bucket list, but just something that you've been putting off.
Graduating. No, that's not for another semester. But I should really pick up a book. Is probably like
to-do list.
My professor's not listening. I should really read some papers. But the thing is, when you have your to-do list and then you got to do it 우선, right? You got to do it like priority wise, and then other things will always top the list of priorities.
It keeps on moving down.
There's one app that I use which I love, and I pay for the privilege. And I can't say the name of it because it's available here. But what it does is uses AI to reschedule your things. So you put in tasks, and then it will automatically reschedule based on the time that you've given it. And so I see it like real time shifting around, and it's like this is overdue. This is overdue. This is X. Close it. Get out.
Turn off the alarm.
Get out.
I like. All right. What is our first story about?
Okay. Well, what in the world? You've heard of the Met Gala?
Oh, yes.
Yes, the fashion forward and fabulous.
Sometimes eccentric.
Fashion backward.
Sometimes really, really like, what in the world? Like you think.
Sometimes what in the world? Well, this is even better. I love it. Welcome to the annual Pet Gala.
I would love to go.
Yeah.
Please invite me.
This is where the dogs steal the spotlight in high fashion. So designer Anthony Rubio has hosted the annual Pet Gala. It's a fashion event for dogs, and it's held at the American Kennel Club Museum of the Dog.
That is so fancy, Nancy.
New York City, baby.
Yeah.
So there were 18 dogs that strutted down the red carpet like good boys and girls. Oh, he's a good boy. He's a good kiddo. And they were wearing these couture outfits. There should be some pictures. I sent some pictures. There you go. It's a fancy affair.
It is. They have the red carpet. They have a floral wall.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they do.
That's like Kardashian style.
If you're on the old Nochubu, you can see these lovely dresses. And of course, the owners or the models walking with them are wearing fantastic clothes.
But the focus, the stars.
Is the pops, right?
Aww.
I feel like that's not really high fashion. I mean, no matter what way you look at it.
That's fancy. That's sparkly.
I've got a sparkly skirt. I could wrap that around my dog at home. It looks very similar,
Don't
right?
diss the dogs.
I'm not dissing the dogs, but it's just funny that this is like, it's such a cute and funny thing, right?
Yes.
But it's very, very serious. It's taken very seriously. It's not a mockery of the Met Gala. It's a celebration of high fashion for dogs, but basically it's a celebration of the designers, right? It's a celebration of these designers who are creating these garments for the pups.
We're just like staring at the phone. We're like,
what is this?
But hey, curious.
Yes.
For the Met Gala this year, what was it, like $75,000 or something really extraordinary?
A little expensive. Yes.
Really high.
Yes.
But what about for the Pet Gala?
$300.
That's still expensive.
That's still. I mean, I'm not saying that I would pay $300 to attend, but I might I had
so
a spare
expensive.
300, you know, to go and see it. But it's a fundraiser, actually. Similar to how the Met Gala works, this is a fundraiser for the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute. So the dogs actually, I don't know if you saw in the costumes, but they represented the real celebrities, right? So like Zendaya, Jennifer Lopez, Cardi B. And they were in the Garden of Time. You mentioned they had a rose wall. And these outfits will be exhibited throughout the month at the Museum of the Dog. And it was just a really fun thing. Apparently everyone had a nice time. They invited Anna Wintour.
Did she come?
I'm not sure if she actually went there.
Probably not. I would say
so.
Probably no.
Probably busy doing something else.
Yes.
But there was a few mishaps.
Oh no.
Well, you might imagine
Pooper scooper needed?
what that might be.
Yes.
Listen, I won't say it. It's morning time. I won't say
Yes.
it. But yes, it was a great. Look at that little puppy on the screen.
That one's the cutest one.
That
And her
one looks
outfit
angry, look.
looks so good with a floral wall. She blends in.
Yeah.
She can camouflage.
There's blue steel written all over it. Look at those eyebrows. Yes.
So cute.
I love it.
All right. What a really, really fun story to talk about. What's our next story, though? Where are we going?
What in the world? Okay, so we're going to the USA again because all of the weirdest stories come out of the US.
Is it from Florida?
I have to say it's not.
Not
It's
Florida?
Michigan.
Okay, Michigan.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
from Michigan. But you know when you go to, I don't know, when you go to a retail park or you go to like even just the local supermarket or 백화점 and there's big, big buildings and they have big, big signs on the front. What do you think's behind those signs?
I don't know. What's behind the signs?
Yeah. Well, apparently.
I have no idea what's behind the signs.
They call her the Ninja Woman.
A woman?
There was a woman found living inside a supermarket sign in Michigan.
Wow. Living? How can you live in a
Living.
sign?
So this wasn't, well, this is the thing, right? How do you live in a sign? So
Right.
it's not actually in the sign. It was behind the sign in the roof space.
Okay.
But she'd been living there for quite a significant amount of time. When she got caught, she got found, basically contractors who were doing some refurbishment work.
Sure.
They had found an extension cord and they're like, where does this go?
Like, I know.
And so
Where
they're
does this lead?
What
Where
is,
does it
have
go?
you ever been in your house and you're like, what is this switch for? What does
Right.
this switch do? And so you're like looking around your whole house. They found this cord. They followed this cord up to the roof. They
And?
found a bed. They
A
found
bed? Not even a sleeping bag, a bed.
They found a bed. They found a desk. Like they found a laptop. Not exactly a desk, but like a little
Makeshift kind of something.
workstation.
Right.
A coffee maker. Like phone. There was a printer. Everything. She was living and working inside the roof space of the supermarket.
Wow, she was good to go.
Yeah, she was good to go. She was good to go.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they don't know how long she's been there.
Oh my goodness.
Because there was no ladder.
How did she get up there?
Exactly. So she's been like having this alternative way to get into this accommodation for.
And then did she go into the
however
supermarket and I hope she didn't steal the food.
So I don't think she stole anything. She's not been arrested with anything.
Okay.
But I think
there it
perhaps-
is.
There's a supermarket. So there's a sign you can see on the Nochubu. She was living behind that sign that says family ding ding ding. We don't have these in Korea, right? Family fair.
Right.
So she was living behind it. So it's a nice big space.
But still,
It's a roof loft apartment.
How do you get up there?
I know. But here's the thing. She must have been, so I think she was working in that building, in that supermarket. But how do you get up there? So she must have known the building. She said it was actually an old family, quote unquote, safe spot. So apparently, this was not only known to her, but also to her family.
It's like
It's a safe spot. What does that mean?
And not just that, but it's like so random on the roof of a building.
I know.
And it's not your building.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, she was very cooperative.
So did they ask
was
her to
like,
leave,
"Oh,
I'm
okay."
thinking?
Yes, they did. And they
Okay.
helped her get the appropriate help, right?
Okay.
So like access to social services, local services that she might need, maybe housing services or, homeless services, whatever it might be.
Yes.
They looked after her and she was like, well, what about all my stuff? You need to get it all wrapped up and put in storage. So everything was handled very
They took
appropriately
care
and
of
very
her.
kindly.
Okay,
yes.
that's good. So semi-happy ending story, I guess.
Well, just weird. Like she
What
was
in the world,
found and
seriously?
she was kind of asked to leave, but it was just a really random situation.
All right. Well, let's move to our third story.
Okay, this one is, can I say this without being offensive? This
Okay.
is absolutely nuts.
Okay.
I'm excited about it. I want the picture to go up on the screen if possible.
Okay, let's see.
So I love street performers. I love walking in Edinburgh during the Edinburgh Festival, and there's people everywhere doing performance art and flame throwing and all of this kind of thing.
Yes.
However, in Morelia, Mexico, a conflict between street performers has been going on for a very long time and has intensified.
What happened?
A group of mariachis attacked a flame swallower.
Whoa,
Listen, you can't make it up. Look at the Dochubit. So this you can see now. This is security camera footage captured of these mariachis from their band.
Yes, traditional Mexican music. Yes.
Beautiful music. And this flamethrower street performer, they've been having a turf war over performance and tips. This is my spot, honey. Move along.
You sounded...
Yeah,
okay, I won't say what you said.
I know. I meant it. I meant it.
But, okay, so if I were a member of like a 5-piece mariachi band, I would not want to fight with a flamethrower.
Well,
obviously, look at the flames.
He starts blowing flames at these people.
Right.
He doused the mariachis with flammable liquids and then set them on fire. Literally, this is what happened. So he threw the liquid and then blew the liquid into. You can see the man there.
Yeah.
There's a fireball and then legs underneath. This is a mariachi who is on fire at this moment.
Wow.
Well, not right now, but when the capture was taken. And so the flame swallower was like, well, of it, because that's his daily thing, right?
That's what I do.
He eats flames for a living.
Yes.
But this is apparently not just with these two groups.
It's like this right now.
It's this whole street performer community. And so there's been this turf war going on. There's tensions between everyone. It's just a bit of a mess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that literally cooler heads prevailed. Yes, that is pun intended.
Yeah.
And that there was not like serious injury, but I see some serious burn injuries.
Well, what happened was the mariachis cornered the flame swallower and then knocked him to the ground and started, beating on him a little bit. And then he's like, enough of this. Stood up and set them
he's
on fire.
outnumbered, right?
He was outnumbered, so he had the power of fire. Not good.
Not good.
Terrifying.
Well, we're going to end it on that strange, what in the world note. Thank you for the fun stories, and we'll check in with you next week.
You can check me out. That's okay.
Thank you, Laura.
Bye.
All right. Well, it's time to wrap up our program for today for the entire week. Thanks for tuning in, and you can look forward to a really beautiful weekend, except for maybe Sunday afternoon. So keep that in mind. Morning Wave in Busan is produced by Cho Yun-jin. We have our writers, Haley Sa, Annie Moon. I'm your host, Catherine, and I'll be back on Monday once again. Final song is this, Come Back to Me by RM, by someone's request. So enjoy, and join me on Monday. Bye, everybody.
Find a night, stay good. Spring's always been here. I will sleep in her eyes. Come back to me like you used to do. Be what you be. I will roll you to moon. I forgot the hour. I don't wanna know about the hour. I forgot the shower. 세수할 시간도 아까워. You don't have to be the anything you say. Try not to be, there's something in this say. I told you I'm fine tonight, stay good. Spring's always been here, I will sleep in her eyes. I forgot the hour. I don't wanna know about the hour. I forgot the shower. 세수할 시간도 아까워. You don't have to be the anything you say. Try not to be, there's something in this say. I told you I'm fine tonight, stay good. Spring's always been here. I will sleep in her eyes.